Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Normally I'm doing some information about Disney pin trading or some type of pin trading, but I also do different videos as far as different adventures that I have around as far as theme parks and zoos and different things like that, shops and stores. That's why DKP Adventures was the title I came up with for the page, because it's more than just pins. So tonight, that said, I wanted to do something completely different, because a lot of you don't realize if you've become fans of the page regarding the pins and different things, that I am also an author. I have currently 3 novels, 5 short stories, and a children's book out and available. And so tonight I wanted to talk about one of those books, my very first novel, called the Chimera Alpha Project, which the Chimera Alpha Project was basically a combination of science fiction and action adventure. The synopsis of the story is, in the mid-1960s, the government, who are far more technologically advanced than what they let the public know, were already experimenting with nanotechnology and gene splicing. So they were trying to create, through the test tube baby process, basically a better military. And they were doing this by splicing in the genes of alpha animals and then stabilizing those genes with nanotechnology in order to create these super soldiers. Of course, the experiments failed. They had no way of knowing how to maintain that type of function, and all of the experiments died except for one. They didn't expect him to survive very long, so they adopted him out into the community along with a large trust fund that was set aside for his care, believing that he would not be around very long. But he survives, and that's kind of where the story takes off. And I thought I would read the first chapter of the story tonight, which I write in very small chapters, so don't worry, and we'll see what you think. I really am not sure where to start. My life's not what you would consider normal in any use of the word. However, I try to keep some semblance of normal in my everyday practice. I know that I will never be able to lead the type of existence we all dream of. I have to adjust and utilize the abilities I've been given for something beyond myself. My name is Scott James. I live a quiet life in a small town called Locust Grove in the Plains state of Oklahoma. I tend to isolate myself, but it's necessary to some degree, for the sake of everyone I care about. You have to understand, I'm a monster. I guess some backstories indicated. From the time I began to come into adulthood, there was something just a little odd about me. I could hit harder than anyone, run faster, swim further, see and smell better, and hell, even predict when something bad was about to happen. My parents and I went through the paces of trying to find someone who could tell us what was going on. Countless doctors and specialists, running every test known to man, at least it seemed. Having diagnosis of everything from ADD to pituitary tumors to psychosocial mood disorders, medicines tried and failed. The one consistent result was that my testosterone and endorphin levels were always off the charts. In my late teens, my body began to change. Musculature began to appear without any help or support from me. I gained strength and stamina beyond anything considered normal. And then the dreams began. I didn't think much of them at first. They would take me away to exotic locations like jungles and rainforests, deserts and swamps. I began to notice a theme. In each sequence, some way related to a predator-prey scenario, and I was always the predator. Now living in the middle of what is known as the Cherokee Nation, I was told that this was my animal spirit guide attempting to connect with me. I've never been much of a mysticism. The summer of 1982 was pivotal. Just a few months shy of my 18th birthday, tragedy would strike my life. Stanley and Teresa James, the people I had always known as my parents, but would later discover had absolutely nothing to do with my creation, were suddenly and violently killed in a home invasion gone bad. I'd been out walking in the wooded areas around Grand Lake, as I did often, when I felt the overwhelming presence of something awful. Evil, really. It compelled me to run the better half of 5 miles back to our home. My instincts had been correct, but I was too late. Both of my parents were lying in large pools of blood, still warm from the slaughter that had occurred only moments prior. The smell in the air was strange. Beyond the sweet scent of fresh blood, a floorboard creaked slightly, and I knew he was still present in our home. I have no recall of the next few events. When the police arrived, I was sitting on the front porch covered in blood, rocking back and forth. The incident was never fully explained to me. What I do know is the intruder was found in my parents' bedroom, nearly decapitated, with his head held to his body only by a flap of skin attached to the back of his neck. An avulsion, as if something had torn his head from his body. I know my parents were stabbed. They were stabbed to death, and their murderer was the one killed in the back bedroom. And I know I was covered in his blood. What I didn't know is why they were killed, who their assailant was, or how he was so brutally dispatched. The story never appeared in the paper, or local news, and no one ever came to ask me any more questions. As I said, my life is very odd. The day of the funerals was equally odd. It was a hot day, and present were only myself, the clergy, who was to commit their bodies to the ground and their souls to heaven, the man who dug the graves, and a stranger standing off away from the rest of us, looking very ominous in his dark blue three-piece suit and fedora. His starched white shirt set off the tie that matched his suit, as if it was cut from the same batch of material. I reminded myself that this looked like something out of the movies. A movie I'd seen about the secret government men stalking people who had secrets and needed to be kept quiet. After the words were said and the dirt was poured, sealing the remains of 2 good people away from the sight of the town that seemed to want to forget that they ever existed, the dark stranger approached me. He introduced himself with a firm handshake from a work-torn hand and callous. His name was Richard Morrison, an attorney who represented my parents and their estate. He presented to me that even though we lived a meager life in a 3-bedroom ranch home, somehow there was a substantial trust for me. When I say substantial, I mean $8.3 million. What the hell? Here I am at 18, well, almost 18, and I'm a millionaire that has scientifically impossible body changes happening, strong anger issues, and questions. Oh, so many questions. This was the point I knew choices had to be made. There was nothing here that could help me or hold me back anymore, so after a quick visit to the local recruiter, a few tests, and what they called a physical exam, I was off to boot camp in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. I wanted to be able to get some control over the things happening to and around me, so I chose the classification of 95 Bravo, Combat Support Military Police. The Chimera Alpha Project follows Scott James through a lot of different things, not only in his life and coming to grips with what's going on with himself, but also pulls the government into it, of course, once they figure out that one of their experiments has survived, then they want their weapon back. So hopefully you enjoyed the first chapter. I'm not great at reading my own work, but hopefully I did an okay job for you. If you're interested in grabbing the book, you can get it on Amazon or at barnesandnoble.com. You can get ebooks, you can get paperbacks, whatever you want. I did put a picture of the cover up here for you to see. So I hope you enjoyed that. Something a little bit different and off from what I usually do as far as the videos go. So I hope you guys have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow with another Disney pin. Good night, guys.